Hello everyone, my name's Dave. I'm from the United Kingdom and I'm a content creator for the travel blog Travel Dave UK.
I met up with my old friend Dave Brett in November when we were both visiting the World Travel Market, WTM, in London. Dave is a solo adventure travel blogger and I've known him for years. We've met a number of times here and on conferences around the world. We even went on a press trip together to Sri Lanka a few years ago. You might remember him singing on the bus in one of the episodes from there. So it was about time we sat down and recorded a chat about traveling and how he works as a travel writer.
Meet Paula Bow on an epic journey around the world. This is The Radio Vagabond.
This episode is brought to you in part by this website called hotels25.com. If you're a regular listener, you have heard me mention this before, and I can't say this enough. This is a cool website. It helps you find the cheapest hotel rooms around the world. Hotels25.com. You should try it out. It actually works. So, Dave, your travel blog, that's your full-time job, right?
The blog started out as a bit of a passion in 2005. So it wasn't a business. I was just doing it because my mum was like, what are you getting up to? I'm not letting you go on a plane. So writing a blog was a way that she would give me a permission to travel in the earlier days. So it was purely out of spite of my mother that the whole thing started. But yes, eventually it has rolled into becoming my full-time career. Yeah.
In 2005, then you're one of the OGs of travel blogging.
If you read the blogs from 2005, I don't think you could even call me a writer. I have no idea what it was. It's so embarrassed. I had to take them off, put them into a Word document and buried them somewhere in my Dropbox in an archive. So never to be read again. But
so that it's not out there.
I've had to take it down. But it's important to keep them there, to remember where you started and how long you've come from. But writing has never really been my forte. If I went back to primary school and I told my English teacher I'm going to be a travel writer full time, they would have laughed their head off. They honestly would have been writing. Out of all the things you could be doing, you chose writing. Didn't do so well. But yeah, things just happen. When you've got a passion for something, that's what happens. It rolls into becoming your full-time career without you even noticing.
And thank goodness there's something called Grammarly.
I am a lifetime member, and I still have mistakes, which is the wonders of having a fiancée who's a copywriter, because she actually enjoys finding mistakes. So we're a perfect match.
Yeah, actually, I heard, because I come from a world of advertising, and I heard somebody say that if you have the Maslow pyramid of your basic needs, the absolute basic need is not food and drinks. It's actually the urge to edit somebody else's text.
Oh, I constantly have comments and emails and messages. You're saying that wrong. You know you've written this wrong. Sometimes I hide them in there just to mess with people. But yeah, on a day-to-day basis, I'm getting messages about mistakes, and I hold my hands up. Not everyone's perfect. I just like to get the stuff out there and get people traveling.
If travel is your passion and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, you can travel vicariously from the comfort of your own home. This is the Radio Vagabond Podcast.
I'm living the good life, and nothing can get me down.
So what kind of travel blog, what kind of content do you cover on your blog?
Well, in the earlier days, travel writing was just writing about travel. You could get away with it. There wasn't that many people, so you literally could write whatever you wanted. But gradually along the years, I've always had a passion for adventure and the great outdoors. So I've sort of moved my niche, because you have to kind of latch onto a niche these days. And for me, naturally, adventure and travel have always gone hand in hand, and I love going on adventures. So I'm just happy that I've been able to carve a niche in that little industry.
And you mentioned your fiancée, and she's from Finland, so you actually live in Finland.
Yeah. So the funny story is we actually met on couch surfing, and I believe I am still surfing on her couch. So I think I am the longest surfing couch surfer because I've never left. I've always popping in and out. I'm based in the UK. I live in the UK, and when I can go and visit her, I love to go to Finland. And we normally stayed like 2 to 3 months, and then I go off travelling. So we've got a little system that works. So yeah, it's nice to go back to Finland. And I studied in the town that Tina lives in. I studied there and did my Erasmus exchange year there. So that's how that all. Yeah, I've just ended up staying. Yeah.
But how much do you travel? Obviously not so much during COVID, but in a normal year, how much do you travel?
The last couple of years, nil pois, it has been a very bizarre time for someone that was constantly on the move. I would say probably 2 weeks out of the month I was on the road, in and out, 2 weeks back, 2 weeks on. So I normally circulate it like that. But the last couple of years, nowhere, just been stuck in North Wales. What an interesting place. My dad's moved up to North Wales, so me and my brother decided to hang out there. So to be a bit more closer to home till things get back to normal.
When we come back, we'll talk more about collecting countries and Pokemons.
Coming up later in this episode.
When I started traveling, I loved Pokemon. Got to catch them all.
Stay with us.
People often say it's a small world, but as someone who's traveled a fair amount, I've come to realize that there are giant parts of the planet that most people never think about, and billions of stories they've never heard. I'm Scott Gurian, and on Far From Home, I visit some of those places and tell some of those stories as I venture to far-flung places, meeting fascinating people.
He told me that shortly before I called him, he had a vision that he was supposed to go to pick up a crystal star.
Immersing myself in different cultures.
In America, everyone smiles. They're trying to be nice and something like that. In Russia, if they don't want to smile, they don't smile.
And finding that the most interesting stories are often not the ones you'd expect.
This is what we've come to see. We came 15 million miles to see a light on a building.
Check out Far From Home wherever you get your podcasts and listen in as I continue wandering outside my comfort zone and maybe learn some new skills along the way.
You should make
I'm so bad at this.
Let's talk a little bit about your adventures. Before I started recording, I asked you if you know how many places you've been, and you haven't really counted the countries.
When I started traveling, I loved Pokemon. So I got to catch them all, got to collect them all on the Game Boy. I had an obsession with just ticking countries off. And then I went to Andorra, and I was standing in Andorra, like, why am I in Andorra? And then I was like, come on, it's a bit silly, this counting thing. You know, come on, just travel because you want to travel. And I have been doing that. So yeah, the earlier stages I was counting, like collecting Pokemon cards. But now I'm just happy for any adventure. And I love going back to the same country. So the year before I'd done 10 trips to Japan. And I want to go back to Japan. You find places around the globe that you just want to go back to, like our trip to Sri Lanka. I can't wait to go back to Sri Lanka. It's such a beautiful place. So, yeah, I used to love counting countries, but the older you get, I think the less you care. You just want to travel.
Yeah, I so agree. And 97, but I totally agree, and I go back to places I've been to before. Obviously, I want to see something new as well. Yeah, I do count, but it's that is not the most important. The most important for me is the exploring and seeing great places.
I must be close to 100, so maybe I'll just tally them up and.
Yeah. Let me know if it's you or me.
Yeah, I just couldn't be bothered.
But you do have the Bean app, right?
The
Bean app. I'll show you. It's when you've been to a country, you put a little tick on it and it turns orange.
Oh right, yeah. What was that check-in app called? I was obsessed with that. Square or
Foursquare.
Foursquare. I checked in everywhere. I'm in the library. I'm in this cafe. I was obsessed with checking in. But yeah, what happened to that? That just sort of disappeared.
I think Facebook took over. You can
Twitter or something. Yeah.
Like Facebook, they see something, a good idea, and then they just copy it.
Yeah. What a waste of time all that was. Checking into everywhere.
But you mentioned Andorra, and I've been there too, and I spent only an afternoon there. It was interesting to go, but that's close to the Pyrenees, and I know that you did a trip to the Pyrenees.
So I was doing a project with Eurorail. So they offer these rail passes around Europe. They're very cool, especially if you like. The EU actually gives 18-year-olds Eurorail passes for free.
No.
Yes, which I think is a fantastic scheme, because that was around the time when I first went Eurorailing, and that changed a lot of things for me, because you understand the EU a lot better personally by travelling around. And at 18 years old, I can't imagine a better education than getting a Eurorail pass and just going around Europe, learning from your mistakes, getting fines in Italy because you didn't stamp your train ticket.
Oh, yeah.
We've all been there. So I had a Eurorail pass, and I was travelling from Barcelona up to France, and I wanted to go to Monaco and then go over to Venice. And I had the Eurorail pass, which basically gives you access to travelling on quite a large selections of trains around Europe. But there was one high-speed train which you had to pay extra for. So with the Eurorail pass, if you want to go on a high-speed train, you have to pre-book and pay a little bit extra on top of the ticket. But there was this other route that went through the Pyrenees, and that was included in the pass. I was like, oh, that can't take that long. Let's check this out.
I'm an adventurer.
Yeah, this sounds fun. And it went all the way through the Pyrenees, and I love scenic trains. I love travelling by train. I think it's the best way to travel. Just peering out the window and watching the rolling landscape as you just sit there having a nice cup of tea. Beautiful. And it's just bliss, especially around Japan, Switzerland. It's just a great way to travel. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's take the scenic route. Oh my God. It was the tiniest train I've ever seen. This yellow little clickety-clackety carriage. It didn't have a roof.
Didn't have a roof.
And we're talking about the dimensions of 2 seats. So like if you're going on a Disneyland ride, I take up those 2 seats. So I'm sitting in this little yellow clickety-clackety carriage, this tiny miniature train, and it must have taken about 30 hours from start to finish. But I was already so committed that I didn't get off the train, and it was so slow. I saw a bird fly faster than the train, like land on the train and then fly off. It was just ridiculously slow. And the ticket inspector didn't even inspect my ticket. It was just like, you're going on this one? Oh, I don't care. It goes all the way through the Pyrenees. And as the sun started to set, it was getting colder and colder. And I only had my like alpine down jacket. Yeah. And I was huddling in like a sleeping bag, my hands in my pockets with the hood on. And I'm like, how long is this bloody going to take? It's going to take forever. And then right about probably 1 a.m. in the middle of nowhere in this French village, the train just stopped. And the train driver didn't even talk to me. He got out of the train and then left. Just left the train. He went into some office like, I'm done. I'm out of here. He's like, I don't want to deal with this bloke, this one bloke sitting on this little yellow train that he has to run. So I went off looking for just a hotel or a hostel. Nothing. There was absolutely nothing in this little tiny village that I ended up. So I just had to sleep on the train platform and wait. And they said there is a train going to Paris in the morning. Like one. So I had to just literally just like wait for this like one intercity train to come pick me up at some god early hour in the morning. And then I was out. And I never forget just stepping onto the train, like it's heated. I just had to warm up. I was so cold and there was nowhere to stay, but I survived. So yeah, the little yellow train in the Pyrenees, I would avoid at all costs.
Yeah. And I take it wasn't a soft seat.
It was a wooden bench. There was no comfort in that train at all. And it was painstakingly slow. But it was included in the Eurorail Pass, adventurers. Yeah. So it's there if you want it.
I might want to add that we're at World Travel Market in London right now, and you might hear a little bit of noise in the background. And right now, one of the stands they had a drummer on, so they started playing the drum. So that's what you can hear here. So
I'm jamming with my bongo. But you don't have to lie.
So what does World Travel Market mean to you? Because we meet here every year.
So I just bumped into my university lecturer actually with her students, and that's how I ended up coming to my first WTM when I was at university studying travel and tourism management. We did a little trip, studied in Swansea, and we did a little trip up to London to come to the World Travel Market. I had a suit on, I was excited, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I'll never forget walking into WTM for the first time and going, wow, like the whole world is in a room. They're here. All the corners of the planet is here. And just to see the possibilities of what the tourism industry creates, you could see it physically. You can see all the countries, the cultures, the destinations, and people doing business, which is fantastic. So that was my first taste, which I believe was in about 2010. So last year was virtual, so I think this is my 10th WTM, which is incredible. And it's still the same. I still get the same goosebumps coming in because I'm like, wow, it's just great to catch up with everyone from around the world, see the destinations that you've traveled to, the people you've worked with, catch up, and come have the virtual last year now to meeting in person. It's just great to see everyone again and just catch up.
And when I walked in the building, it was like, oh my God, it's like I've never left. It's just the same. It's slightly smaller this year, but it's so great. And one of the funny things is when you meet somebody and say, let's meet at Argentina, or let's have lunch next to Greece or something like that.
Greece has some canapes and wine. Let's go there. So we have a little blogger group where we all discuss if anything's going on, which is quite nice. Yeah. They normally do some marketing events, so you're welcome to go along and meet the PR or have a chat with a destination. But it's nice to get a glass of wine or something to eat as well. So
yeah, but I know what you're doing here now as a blogger, because I'm basically doing the same. But you're going around talking to PR people from different destinations, right?
So it's a mixture. You could speak directly with the destination manager. You could speak with the PR. So you got to get a taste of how destinations work with travel influencers or digital content creators. I don't know what we're called. It keeps changing all the time. I studied social media in the Netherlands, and the course title changed every year. It was digital media, new media, social media. Like, no one can really decide this space.
And the word influencer has a bad rep.
It keeps evolving, and then the press are like, oh, this influencer did this. I remember going to a Traverse event in Hamburg, and the hostel owner was hosting an event. And he went, oh yeah, we've got some doctors here for influencer conference. I was like, no, influencer, not influenza. But bless him, like he misunderstood the English conversation. So the English words, it was an influencer conference. So yeah, it's not I just prefer to use digital content creator, because that's the heart of it. That's what I do. I curate content for travel, videos, photography, writing in the digital space. And I understand that. But yeah, just like my lecturer kept changing the title of the course, it's an evolving industry. Yeah.
Having Travel Dave UK as your job, obviously, when you do something for destinations, you not only get the trip, but you also get paid to do it.
And that's very important, because every destination will have a media budget. Every year they discuss, they have a meeting, they assign budget. You see advertisement on TV, you hear it on the radio, you see it on billboards. It surrounds you. So by creating a product which is very targeted for a certain area that they would like to attract, that's roughly what you're doing in that space. And there is a fee for that. And it's a product and it's a business. So what I like to do is go around and see if destinations are focusing on the adventure niche I'm in. And you'll be surprised. It's a growing market that people would like to go into. So it's just reading the press releases, reading the press packs, finding out what's happening, what are they focusing on, and where is that media budget going. And if you can offer something to reach the audience, that the potential that they would like to target, there's a market for that. And that's what these sort of conferences are all about, just having that discussion, what they're working on and where we're going in the future.
Let's hear a little bit more about traveling. You mentioned Andorra and the Pyrenees, which was not on the top of the list of great things. But have you ever gone to a place where you thought, I don't really expect much, and then it's just blown you away, an underrated place?
That does happen a lot, and I love to lower my expectations wherever I go. But I do get excited for destinations as well. Yeah, it's a mixed bag, but it's nice going to a destination that you didn't expect anything from and then turning out into just an incredible trip. And for me, like our Sri Lanka trip was definitely that, because I went unprepared. I didn't know much about Sri Lanka. I didn't look that much into it. I was just ready for something different than India, because I found India a bit head on, full on, very busy. And Sri Lanka was like a tranquil version of India, and I preferred it so much. It was so much more calm and relaxing and beautiful landscape. But I also found that in India, in Kerala. So there are parts of India that do also have a very relaxed sort of vibe. So yeah, Sri Lanka definitely was a country that surprised me and blew my expectations out of the water.
I remember I did a Balkan trip where I started in Albania and I made my way all the way up to Slovenia. And Croatia, I was expecting a lot of, because that's really a place that a lot of European tourists go to, and it's beautiful and stunning. It's got all this Game of Thrones thing. So I had really high expectations, and it was like, yeah, it's okay, and it was expensive, but I could see that it's beautiful and it's got all these things going. But I started out in Albania and I wasn't expecting anything. I just thought, okay, I'm in Greece, so I'm heading up there. Let me go to Albania and tick that off the box. And then that just blew me away.
I had a similar situation with is it the former northern part of? I'm trying to think the new name. It's not Macedonia. It's North Macedonia. So you can't say Macedonia because there's Macedonia in Greece. So they've changed the name to the former.
No. Before it was Fyrom, former Yugoslavian Republic but now it's just North Macedonia.
North Macedonia, right? I wanted to make sure I got it right because okay, that was great. That was really, really great. I remember having a kebab, wondering, is this horse meat? I had no idea what I was eating,
and I've never seen so many sculptures in Skopje.
I heard a student just put a statue in the middle of just to see what would happen, and it stayed there for quite a while. Like there's so many statues in Skopje. It was what a place. I loved it, and it was just a bus. Got on the bus from Greece, went up there, stamped me in. Didn't expect anything. North Macedonia. Yeah, good crack. Yeah. But the Balkans are beautiful. I love the the Ottoman influences you can find around. It's just like very unique and different. I really was like, wow.
You haven't been to Tirana in Albania yet?
I haven't. No. Yeah, on the list. I've heard about all the bunkers.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of bunkers around,
and a lot of them are made into museums. And
wow, right. Yeah, I'm up for it. It's on the list, but just like a lot of travellers at the moment, just waiting for everything to safely open up again, and then we can all get back on the road. So,
what do you mean? I've been travelling since January.
It's just a nice excuse to just stay in one place for a while.
Whenever I hear people say, once I'm able to travel again, and there I was roaming around in Central America, it's like, what are you talking about?
I'm just missing Asia. I'm missing Asia so much, and it's still a very lockdown situation, but it's gonna open up soon, and it's more the industry on a whole opening up again, getting everyone traveling. It's gonna happen soon, as long as everyone's safe, everyone's vaccinated.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
Have you ever been in any sort of trouble out there on your journey? Is it a dangerous place out there? Have you ever been scammed? Have you been robbed? Have you been mugged? Have you been held at gunpoint?
Oh, of course. Yeah, all of it. That's the fun of travel. You learn from every experience you have as a person. You learn how to deal with these situations. They shouldn't put you off doing travel. They should just make you stronger. And as long as you have very good, reputable travel insurance, that should be your reassurance. You're covered. Just give the phone, honestly. If they've got a gun, just give them the phone.
Had that happened?
No, it hasn't. Okay. But I remember I was in Vancouver, and they were just about to host the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. And there was quite a bad homeless situation, especially with heroin. And had moved a lot of people out of the sort of the development areas where they were developing the Olympics. So it was a massive homeless problem. And I didn't know about this. So I come back after a night out, and the lock on my locker at the hostel had been crowbarred off, and everything I owned had been stolen. Passport, camera, laptop, backpack, everything. All gone. I'd lost my wallet. I put my wallet in there. I put my phone in there. Everything. Because I went out for a night out and I didn't want to carry anything with me.
In case you got marked.
Fantastic night out, by the way. But, oh my God, I was destroyed because it was the first time I've ever been outside of Europe. It was the first year of my gap year. The first week. But because I had good travel insurance, everything was replaced. I made a police report. I listed everything that was in the locker, and within a week, so a friend lent me the money, and I was able to replace everything, and I was back on the road, and it was behind me. Still to this day, I am freaked out about my bag, leaving my bag unattended. Every time the bus driver wants to chuck my bag on the top of the roof in Honduras, I'm like, nope, it's coming with me, and I'm going to stuff it between my legs, because I get a bit paranoid about my bag, because it was weird having... It was more the invasion. It was more someone taking my private stuff. And I had to put my rubber duck on a police report. I had a little travelling rubber duck that I used to take pictures of in fun locations. Yeah, I'd put everything on there. It had all gone. But we start fresh, pick ourselves up, back on the road, and that's what you have.
But did you lose a lot of files, of photos and stuff like that?
It was the first week. I'd just been drinking and partying in Vancouver. Fantastic city, by the way. Oh, yeah. Really beautiful part of Canada.
I came from there just before here.
Oh, great. Did they still have a homeless issue?
I didn't see it that much, no.
Yeah. I went recently and I went back to the area where the hostel was, and I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have booked a hostel here. But when you're learning how to travel for the first time, you just book the place that looks the funnest, and no idea.
So the different areas, when you go to a place you had never been to before, how do you do your research on which part of a city you should stay at?
I am the most laziest traveler. I actually normally Google when I'm there in the place, what should I do? What I like to do is I read a lot of travel magazines. I read a lot of newspapers and articles. So I have an Evernote folder where I just add little things like the goats up the tree in Morocco we were talking about. So I have these little tidbits of things that I've always wanted to do, and I'll always grow that list. So when I do come round to visiting that place, I'm like, okay, I have to go to the ramen museum in Kanagawa because I love instant ramen noodles, and there is a whole museum about instant ramen noodles. So that's normally how I do it. Back in the day, I always used to turn up with a couch surfer, and the couch surfer was like, hey, you want to go to a beer hall in Vienna I know about? And then turn up and there's all these other couch surfers. So I love to go with the flow, love to meet some locals, get their insight information, meet other travelers who have just been there. I'm very lazy.
And now you mentioned couch surfing. A lot of people probably think that couch surfing is only by having a place to sleep, but I use it also just for meetups. I remember in Conakry in Guinea, I had a place to stay, but I reached out through couch surfing and said, anybody want to go for lunch or beer? So I had an appointment for lunch. I had a beer in the afternoon and I had dinner at night. And that's probably one of the reasons I have fond memories of Conakry.
Oh yeah, for me it's about the lifelong friendship. It's never about the free place to stay. It's great. It helps and it's a lovely bonus, but it's always just getting that connection with a local and also making their day, because normally they're off to the 9 to 5 work and then they get this nice British guy turn up and the evenings are a bit more adventurous and a bit fun. So we can both enjoy that experience together. And yeah, of course, I've also hosted people and they're like, oh yeah, I've got a late flight and I'm landing at midnight and then I'm leaving in the morning. I'm like, sleep at the airport.
Exactly.
Just sleep at the airport.
Yeah.
It's not worth my time.
No.
One final question. What's next for Travel Day? Where do you plan that to be in 2022?
Where I planned to be in 2022 was where I was going to plan to be in 2021 and 2020 and 2019. And, you know, so it's like everything's sort of been on the back burner and it's sort of been building up and my list has been growing. And I just want to go to Korea. I'd love to go to Korea. I haven't been to Korea in so long. The South, I'd love to go around because I've been watching the Squid Games. And Train to Busan, was it Parasites, the movie? Like, I'm just really interested in like Korean culture, and I didn't really like dive that more deep into it. So I'd like to do a bit more longer travel in some countries that I've just been dying to go back to. So the minute things open up, definitely got Korea on the horizon.
And see if you can make it down to Jeju Island. It's such a beautiful island.
I was just talking to the tourism board about how to get there, and they're like, oh, we have so many flights, we have a boat. I'm like, this sounds fun. This sounds like a little adventure to Jeju Island. So that's on the list, yes. And Busan as well. I've always wanted to go to Busan. So, well, the thing is, there was a flight from Helsinki that was going to Busan, but they've had to, with Finnair, that they've had to pull back because of the pandemic. So just have to wait for everything to come back that was supposed to go in place. So yeah, I've had a lot of trips on the back burner.
Dave, always a pleasure, and see you somewhere in the world.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your podcast, finally. Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. Be sure to check out Dave's blog, Travel Dave UK, where he travels the world one adventure at a time. His globe-trotting adventure travel blog features travel tips, advice, travel stories, travel videos, and travel photography that will inspire your next trip and help you plan it too. You'll find it on traveldave.co.uk. As always, you'll find the link in the episode notes. In a few days, we'll go to the Caribbean. My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk.